Hello, this is Tom Jacobs from tdjacobs.com. I'm an evolutionary astrologer, energy worker, and channel. A lot of what I do involves energetically programmed crystals, and there are a number of videos here on YouTube that you can access. You know, you can see me talking about tiger iron or red jasper and pink opal, but I've never done one video that explains all of what I offer. I'm going to put time markers in the space below the video in the description, so you can skip ahead if you want to know about one or two things and don't want to hear the whole set. It's over a dozen pieces right now that I offer. So I'm just planning to spend a couple of minutes, 2, 3, 4 minutes on each one in turn, starting with those that affect the root chakra, the first chakra, the lowest one, and then moving up. A lot of people who've been following my work for years were around when I started doing this, and I started teaching a lot about tiger iron, and then red jasper, and then labradorite, and kind of the story grew. But if you just go to my site now, you'll encounter this list of all these stones. You can go to an individual page, but then you read through it. Anyway, I thought I would, if you're just encountering my work now, I thought I would just give you this primer, so you can know what to expect, how to use them, what they're good for, and why you would want to have them. The basic overview idea is explained in a video here on YouTube about why I do this, and you can look that up, about why I do energetically programmed crystals. The basic idea, there's a longer explanation in there, but the basic idea for here today is the vibrations in the stones, they function as batteries giving off the energetic charge I put into them. Those charges will interrupt your normal status quo. The parts of you who are telling you a story, the fears that you may have, the regrets, shame, guilt, parts of you that are responding to pain or sadness or sorrow or trauma or something that are telling you to do this and don't do that, and you may feel controlled by emotions and parts of you and ideas and old beliefs, ideas of who you are or should have been. The stones will give off these vibrations that interrupt that process. So I do think of it in terms of the chakra system, which I'll talk a little about as I go here. But the idea is, you want to make a change? Do you want to stop that destructive thing? Do you want to begin being who you are and doing what you want to do with your life? You can do it, but you need help. And the original impetus was, I could tell you a bunch of things. I could give you affirmations. I could even do energy work for you during sessions. But when those sessions are over, or when you somehow stop using those affirmations and don't look at them every day and don't use them, the effects will go away. So the idea with the energetically programmed crystals and stones is to bring a vibration into your field, into your body, while you hold it, while you have it next to you, and have that change the baseline of what's going on and shift it. So when you decide to make a change, you get the support of this vibrational shift, not just when we're talking for an hour at a time, which is expensive, but relative, to having a stone with you all the time, talking with me is very expensive, because you buy the stone once, you have it forever. It's not this constant, conversation. So that requires me to be live on the phone with you. So let's just run through them from the ground up. What I recommend everybody start with, and what I started with for years, is tiger iron. And tiger iron is a banded combination of hematite, red jasper, and yellow tiger eye. This one is from South Africa, so it looks a little different than you might expect. Here's another example that you might be more accustomed to seeing. That's what tiger iron from Australia looks like. And then again, here is the one from South Africa. It's a little different, but the effects are the same. I actually bought these spheres from a new source and was thinking, oh, maybe it's not going to work because I'm so accustomed to the other one. But after they were programmed, it does exactly the same thing. So on my site now are several of those small spheres from South Africa, and a few handmade pieces from Australia that I cut and polished and shaped myself. So those are for the chakras 1, 2, and 3. I think of it kind of as a flagship stone that I do, because everything goes back to the tiger iron. The recommendation to get grounded, to get in your body, to pay attention to those lower chakra issues, and to work through them, to address those issues. First chakra is about the people and places you come from, how safe you feel in a body, how welcome you feel in the world. That has to do everything with survival issues, what you get from your ancestors and how you feel about that. All those things need to be addressed. Second chakra is give and take, one-on-one relationships, sexuality, money, creative flow, money flow, sexual flow. That's the second chakra. And third chakra is your self-esteem. And do you respect yourself, or do you have guilt or shame that may be getting in the way of making self-respecting choices? Those three together are those lower three chakras, and it's important to have that those developed or open and working on addressing any old issues in order to feel grounded and safe in your body. The idea that I get from the Ascended Master Eye channel, Judy, also known as Thoth, Saint Germain, and Merlin, Hermes, those lower three chakras have to be in place as a solid foundation. You have to know you're safe. You have to know you can say yes and no, chakras 1 and 2 respectively. And the third one, you have to know that you can trust your choices and that you're able to make the right choices to build self-respect and self-care. When those three are in place, the upper four for the heart, throat, third eye, and crown can relax open, but you have a solid foundation. So the tiger iron I recommend for many, many people. Signs that tiger iron might be good for you: anxiety, worry about the future. You avoid being in your body. You don't take care of your body. You don't feel safe. You don't know if you can earn money. You can't figure out how to be grateful for what your family modeled for you or showed you. You don't feel safe in your community or your nation. You don't know how to feel connected to other people or communities. These are root chakra signals that your root chakra needs attention. Really clearly, if you, for example, forget to drink water all the time, if you if your brain makes choices about food and your body is hurting and wanting certain things, like there's kind of a root chakra thing as well. Second chakra, if you're not open to receive from others and you don't want to give to others, if you don't want others' opinions of you because you're afraid of what they might say, that's kind of related to third chakra as well. But the second chakra stuff is about relationships, sexuality, and money flow. Are you willing to participate? Are you willing to engage? Are you willing to say yes, please, to what you like and need, what you want? And are you willing to say no, thank you, to what you don't like, don't need, and don't want? That's the second chakra. Third chakra is the self-image that's installed as your personal truth. Is it negative? Is guilt or shame a persistent theme for you? Regret, self-recrimination, self-judgment, self-hatred, assuming there must be something wrong with you because you just can't make the right choices, or maybe you seem to sabotage yourself and then judge yourself for it later. That's a major third chakra issue. So the tiger iron will send energy to the lower three chakras, and you'll have to work through those things one by one, but it's a boost of confidence. It's a boost of energy to send down there. So that's the major thing that I recommend to everybody, because when you're grounded, when you're not that everything in the lower three chakras has to be spick and span, perfectly clean to function well, but you must understand your triggers and your fears and change your relationship with them. So again, anxiety, fear, panic, don't know what's going to happen next. You need the tiger iron to get grounded. So moving on, there is a couple of different lower chakra things also that I offer. One of them is hematite alone. Right now I have these slabs, and occasionally I have spheres. As you can kind of see, it looks like a magic little. Anyway, this is raw hematite. These are both raw hematite. When you've seen magnetic hematite, those perfect gunship gray, forms that are magnetic, that are from China, they're manufactured. They take this stuff, they pulverize it, add glue, put it in molds, and then sell it. This is raw hematite. You see how it's imperfect, and you see the iron in there, and there's this other like brownish kind of matrix in there too. That's what it really looks like. You can see that. It's gorgeous. I can't stop staring at it sometimes. But this is hematite alone. This is for the root chakra. Now, the synergistic thing that happens with the tiger iron of those three stones banded together, one of them being hematite, that's a whole story that I just told you. This, however, pulls energy to the root by itself. For me, this makes me less verbal, meaning it puts me in my body my consciousness is not up in my head and my mouth and my eyes and my ears and my brain. Say that a bunch of times fast. So the hematite is for grounding also, slowing down, calming down. This is also good for anxiety, for fears about the future, for panic and things like that. These slabs are good for holding in a pocket, for holding, but also carrying in a pocket because they're flat. And so the idea is for you to get used to the vibration that pulls you out of your head and the fears and doubts and concerns that your mind may have. To try to protect you, of course, that's your mind's job, but to pull that down into the body, that's what the hematite is really for. Okay, another lower chakra stone that I offer is the Shiva Lingam. The Shiva Lingams are pretty popular. I get two kinds of responses from people, and it's about half and half. Some people say, oh yeah, Shiva Lingam, I've seen them a billion times. And other people say, either I've never seen them or I've never seen them this big, because you can find little ones on keychains and little tiny ones. I get these because this size, because you can't forget you're holding it. This is not a pocket stone. It's good for a shoulder bag or a purse, but maybe not a pocket stone because it's kind of big. The idea here is it's for chakras 1 and 2, the lower two. And the shape is of a phallus, which is male genitalia, right, the penis. And that's what lingam means. It's Shiva's penis. Then the markings, which go perpendicular, represent the yoni, or the feminine principle. So you have the collision of male and female. This is not about gender and sexuality. It's about active and passive. It's about doing versus pausing, giving versus receiving. It's about that balance within you. People who are underactive, this can stimulate. People who are overactive, this can help you pause. When you rush ahead and don't pause and wait for things, you're not open to receive. If you're waiting for something all the time and not acting, you might not be willing to act when the time is right. So this can stir that. A good balance between doing versus waiting. One of the things, it can be very energizing for some people, and it can be very calming for other people. I have noticed a pattern. The people who find it calming, typically, most of them in my experience, have had sexual abuse when they were children. Not to be too specific, but that's kind of the thing where there was one gentleman I was working with, and we'd worked a lot on this issue. And he was very in touch with these younger parts of him and the anger and the fear and the pain. And he was here with me for a workshop, and the tiger iron grounding thing wasn't quite working out. So I said, hey, let me tell you, these might make you feel very uncomfortable because they're energizing. And he picked them up and he felt amazing, he felt calm, and that little kid he'd carried with him started to relax. And he ended up getting 2 when he was here, and he would hold 1 in each hand. And then that pattern's been repeated with other clients of mine who find it relaxing and calming, because parts of them might be churned up and anxious and defensive, and this can help give them a boost of confidence. This has Archangel Metatron's energy in them. Metatron is a kind of a kick-assy, intense, transformative figure who holds space without compromise for us to learn to make the right choices for ourselves, and thereby step into our own power. So these are kind of very interesting pieces. And like I said, other people find them very energizing. When I do an expo and I stand on my feet for 8 or 10 hours, 3 days in a row, when I get tired, I'll pick 2 of these up for a couple minutes, and I'm actually very energized by them. And I'll be able to just kind of catch my breath and like feel more complete again, because they can be activating. So Shiva Lingams are good for stirring creativity, for stirring sexuality, or stirring the blocks that keep you from being in touch with those parts of yourself. To some degree, it's possible that, because it's related to the 2nd chakra as well, that there are boundary issues that may be strengthened by using Shiva Lingam. When I get to that in another minute, I'll get to the red Jasper, which is specifically for that. I'll talk more about boundaries there. The next one is Onyx. It's really a root chakra thing. To some degree, It's all through lower chakras, but it's very specifically for the root. When we think of onyx, we think of black, but actually there are different colors in there too. We've been conditioned to think that they have to be black. This is a very, if you're following along with astrology stuff, this is a very Plutonian stone. This is giving a boost of confidence to deal with deep fears and pain and grief and trauma, while also pulling it to the surface. So it may make you aware of something more directly that you fear, or again, if you have guilt or shame or regret, it can pull that up too, while giving you a boost of confidence to look at it. It's more Jehudi's energy. It's not Metatron, it's more Jehudi's energy. And I promoted these in concert with the Processing Trauma and Grief 4-hour MP3 set, which is a way to go deeply into trauma and grief and process them and move through them. Those are channeled energy work calls where you get energy work when you opt in as you listen to the energy in my voice. So I've promoted them over the years with that in mind. And there are kind of two kinds of people who typically are drawn to the onyx. And they know right away. People don't hem and haw over the onyx. They know right away. One kind of person is already clear that they possess all manner of possible human motivations, kind of a Plutonian way of knowing the self. Things we're afraid of, things we're supposed to think are vulgar and monstrous. Okay, that's true about me. And so they're kind of already in this groove. Oh, look, a friend that matches that vibration. Great. The other kind of person walks up to my table at an expo or orders one online and says, oh my God, I'm becoming that person right this minute. So, you know, people who either know they're Plutonian or who begin accepting that part of themselves as soon as they encounter the onyx. So I teach about Pluto as about strength, power, the deepest kind of confidence. But it's not power over power under stuff. It's not if I'm louder, if I can take what I want, if I can buy something. It's absolute unflinching self-awareness, absolute unflinching, unashamed self-awareness, followed by absolute unflinching, unashamed self-acceptance, which means looking at all parts of you and accepting, loving all of them in turn, all the shadow stuff. Doing inner shadow monster work, loving your inner Trump, your inner Hitler, whatever it is, your inner petty tyrant, your inner dictator, the control freak, the person who's intolerant, the person who may even have some racist ideas that don't even seem like yours, or based in fear, or parts of you that have hatred. Just understand these are parts of the human experience, and we need to stop shaming these things. And that's real Pluto work, and that's one of the things that the onyx supports. Okay, now moving up to the second chakra, red jasper. Now in the tiger iron is, one of the constituent stones is red jasper. It's easier to see in this sphere that I had held up. If you can now see, I'm blocking my own. Let's see. Yeah, I can see the red jasper in there. Sometimes it comes through as more brownish in some forms. And so, but this is red jasper. Just yesterday I put up a bunch of new spheres and also smaller pieces in pairs, so you buy 2 at a time and you can give one to somebody, because red jasper is great for boundaries and establishing healthy boundaries, cleaning up things within a relationship, and getting rid of what you might carry from other people, their expectations, their emotions, their pain, their frustration. Somehow when we love each other, we open our hearts, and somehow we can sometimes take on things from other people as they take them on from us. A person may not be conscious that he or she is putting stuff on other people either. So we have this both way in all relationships. We need to learn how to manage this better. My definition of boundaries comes from Jehudi, the Ascended Master Ray channel. And typically we think they are these lines we learn about when somebody crosses them and we become vulnerable. Just give you another look at this. That we become violated, or we feel hurt because somebody has crossed a line, right? That's what we think boundaries are. And then we want to defensively throw out walls and barriers and shielding and armor to make sure nobody crosses our boundaries. Well, the second chakra is about give and take and flow. So it's really important for us to not be defensive and not throw up those walls and defenses. So a better definition of boundaries is, let me as an individual take responsibility for what I know I can and can't do, what I know I want and don't want to experience, what I'm willing to do and what I'm not willing to do. I assert those affirmative boundaries. When stuff in the form of opportunities and relationships and dynamics with other people comes up to me and they don't fit those things, meaning it's not what I want, it's not what I need, it's not healthy, it's not what I'm willing to experience, then it's upon me to say, oh, right, that, no thanks. Sounds pretty simple to your brain now, but think about all the crap in your life you've gone through without having that conception that you can actually say yes and no to things. So the red jasper is great for saying yes and no to people. But you have to first own that you have the power to say yes and no. Yes, please, when you love something. No, thank you, when you don't. When you know that you have that power, you no longer vilify or blame anybody for offering you an opportunity to experience something you don't want to experience. Because you just say, oh, that doesn't work for me. So the red jasper is fantastic for that. One of the things that's really great, and that affects money. By the way, that affects money flow. Because if you're willing to say yes to what you like and no to what you don't, you kind of set up a field around you, which is, okay, I'm willing to engage because I'm giving myself permission to navigate the world through yes and no. That affects energy flow, which results in money. So the red jasper for the second chakra is great for that. The other thing is this idea of we carry things from other people. You can become, for many people who experience red jasper, it can be very clear what somebody else's stuff is that doesn't belong to them. Meaning as soon as you get a red jasper, you may realize, wait a minute, that thing I do with my mom, that means I'm carrying her whatever. Or that thing with my partner or my friend or even my pet's anxiety even, something, you know, I'm carrying that. Okay, I don't need to carry that anymore. And you can just make that decision and the relationships will change for the better. It doesn't end relationships unless they need to be ended. But what it does is it cleans things up so you can, when you interact, actually meet each other with presence instead of running on these past patterns. So the red jasper, even though it's represented in the tiger iron, the red jasper by itself is incredibly important for establishing and maintaining healthy boundaries. You know, if somebody wants something from you you can't do, it doesn't mean you're a bad person if you don't do it. And that's one of the teachings of the red jasper. We're all trying to get our needs met. If you have to say no to somebody because of your health and self-respect, that person needs to hear no. That's a huge lesson with the red jasper. Now, moving on to the third chakra, we have, I call it yellow-green druzy jasper. It's jasper. I bought it as sea jasper, but it doesn't have orbs. So I'm just going to show you this briefly. We'll talk about the sea jasper in a little bit, but you can see like the little orbs in there. That's a sea jasper massage wand. This is labeled as sea jasper, but it doesn't have the orbs. And the orbs are what give it the seventh chakra spiritual quality, relaxed surrender energy I'll talk about later in this video. So I had tons of this, I don't know. I had a lot of poundage of this stuff. Didn't know what to do with it, and then said, let me treat it as yellow jasper. And yellow, of course, is associated with the third chakra. Now, it also has some green in it, so some people might say, oh, well, that's the fourth chakra. Different, before you write me and say, you know, different people always say that, like, there are certain color assignations for the chakras, but there are different systems. If you do enough research, you'll find different systems anyway. So I started treating it as yellow jasper. It is programmed for the third chakra, the solar plexus, the belly. That's where that self-image lies. That image of who you are, the self-esteem that ends up powering the rest of your life. So if you, this is the one where if you carry guilt or shame or regret and self-doubt or a negative self-image, self-criticism, self-hatred, that's where it's stored. And that image of yourself in the third chakra powers the rest of your life. It's the battery, the power source. So this will interrupt some of that and make it easier for you to move through guilt and shame, to give yourself the benefit of the doubt that you're a work in progress, because you are. The third chakra, we hold ourselves, our image of perfection or willingness to like ourselves, it's about self-esteem, we sometimes tie that to how perfect we think we are or how well we think we've done, if we've made the right choices, if we haven't. And so we can get ourselves in this trap of Because we're not perfect, obviously we're nothing. Well, your soul has you here to learn to make choices and deal with the consequences and learn as you go. That's what every human's doing. So if you can define yourself not in terms of your past choices or present choices, but in terms of I'm learning as I go. I'm always finding myself in, this is true of everybody, you're finding yourself in situations where you have to make a decision and you've never been in that situation before. So what are you going to do? Hold yourself to some ridiculous high standard and then judge yourself for it forever if you make what looks like a mistake? So we got to retool all of this, and that's what the yellow druzy green jasper. The druzy thing is the quartz in here. Let me see if this piece has it. Yeah, on the back there's a little layer of like shimmery quartz you can kind of see. That's called the druzy. Anyway, so yellow green jasper, that's for the third chakra. And all of that has to do with that lower chakra foundation I talked about. If you listen to those stories of those three chakras and you say, okay, but I'm just going to get one, tiger iron is it. Okay. The next one is the fourth chakra. We move up to the heart center, and that is pink opal. Now this is tumbled. I purchased it this way. And pink opal will not just open the heart, but it will pull to the surface slowly and gently whatever unresolved emotional stuff you need to release. Remember what I said in the second chakra, if we've been hurt, we throw up boundaries to protect ourselves, barriers. Same in the fourth chakra. When those lower three chakras are solid in place, the issues are being addressed, and we're in our bodies and we're saying yes and no, we know we're safe, etc., and we like ourselves, or we're approaching liking ourselves, then the fourth chakra can relax open. The fourth chakra is a simple circuit. Its answers are yes or no. Open, closed. Is this right for me? The heart will either open and you feel warmth and joy, or it will close and you feel the opposite. You feel dead, numb, resistance. You don't want to do this. So ideally, we should walk around with our hearts open in order to sense the world around us, to let it draw us to what is right for us, what vibrates us open. But because we're all learning to deal with painful emotions, we're all learning to deal with boundary problems and how we treat each other and how we may hurt each other and what we might regret and judge and shame, this will pull to the surface blocks to your heart being open. So this is the most important stone that I offer. You're going to hear some amazing stories as I proceed in this video. We got the upper chakra stuff in Moldavite and Larimar, but this is extremely important. You must become willing to work through your emotional blocks. You must, if you're going to evolve during this life, learn more about working with your emotions, healing things, forgiving yourself, letting people off the hook, accepting a higher truth. You must do it. So this is in many ways disarming of your defenses and your protocols to try to keep people from affecting you, which affects your community involvement. It affects your feeling of safety in the world, emotional support. You must, so anyway, pink opal is extremely important. Often I find people avoiding pink opal because and everything I teach about it and what I say at expos and what I say at events is that it will open your heart, and they say, oh, I don't need more of that. But they do. The reason they think they don't need it is because they think they can't handle it. We have to cry stuff out in order to be free of those things. Think about emotions. This is true of stuff that's going on in any chakra, but in the fourth chakra, it's a really big deal. Think about pain and emotions and unresolved things as waves trying to break. They're like pushing up from under the surface. There's this undulation, right? If you shove it down, pressure builds from within, and then you have this lid on it, and it's a pressure cooker. So if you let the emotion play itself out, you'll be free of it. The wave can break, you can move on beyond it. So we have to be angry to let things go. We have to cry through things. We have to be sad and depressed and feel hopeless to move through them. So the pink opal is extremely important. This is programmed with a variant on Jehudi's energy. It's Saint Germain energy. Saint Germain is a face of Jehudi, the same being, and another ascended master. And he is the keeper of the violet flame of forgiveness. He presents the opportunity for you to let go of your blocks to opening your heart. So this is extremely important, the pink opal for the 4th chakra. Okay, moving on, Larimar, which is from the Dominican Republic. It's this gorgeous blue-white business. And I just recently put up my 2 Larimar pieces that I've used for several years. I'm not connecting with it in the same way because I'm using another one that's good for the 5th chakra that I'm not selling, which is just, I'll just tell you, it's boulderable. This bluish milky white stuff seems to do the same thing. Anyway, I'm doing more research on it. But anyway, I just put up the ones I've used for years, and this is one of them. And Larimar is good for the 5th chakra, and in the 5th chakra, we encounter what we have installed as truth, what we might worship as a higher ideal, but might in fact be a belief or an idea or an ideal. So the question in the 5th chakra is, what are you surrendered to? Now, you might be surrendered to something, the image of yourself based on what has happened to you in your life. Well, it might not be true. When I first encountered Larimar, and I've told this story elsewhere, but I'll tell it here again. When I first encountered Larimar, I was freaked out about the expense of the material, and I picked a group of rough pieces that I would then polish, cut and polish, and I picked what felt right, and I was, intuiting. I was feeling like in line with what was happening, my higher truth. And when I got the number after I weighed it with the vendor on his scale, I was scared because I didn't know if I would make that money back. And I said, wait a minute, this is about surrendering to a higher truth. This is about looking at what I think is true. So why do I think I'm not going to get the money? Okay, well, because I don't deserve it. Why don't I deserve that? Why do I believe that? And I went through a process which showed me that some relationship thing from, I don't know, I guess it was like 13-ish years ago. I loved this person, I thought she loved me, but she wouldn't get together with me for her own reasons, and they don't matter. But the point is, I felt that was indicative of how lovable I was. So that was affecting my willingness to invest in this crystal now. So that was kind of crazy to see that. And I was like, well, instead of surrendering to my interpretation of what looks like rejection by this person I cared about, let me instead willingly, intentionally surrender to the truth that this helps people, and I love helping people, and this is a great thing to have in my toolbox. So I did that. I paid for it. They've sold. I haven't had any problem recouping my investment. There's no problem there. But I had to look at what I was surrendered to. I will tell you that the 5th chakra is the channeling chakra. We know that intuition is in the 6th chakra. That might have to do with channeling. Or the 7th chakra, a spiritual connector, might be about channeling. Connecting to higher wisdom, higher vibrations, maybe even letting someone else speak through us, as I do with the Ascended Master and sometimes the Archangel I work with. But in fact, the 5th chakra sets that up. Now, you can be very intuitive, but surrendered to something not true. You can be connected to something in the collective with the 7th chakra, but not aligned with what's really capital T true for you, what resonates as true. So in the 5th chakra, we have to take our personal power from the 3rd chakra and align it with something outside of ourselves that is true. Again, you're the only person who can know what feels true to you. And so the Larimar will inspire that process of you letting go of what isn't real and true for you. Now, your truth may differ from somebody else's, but for you to be aligned with that vibration within you is the point. So it's the channeling chakra because some people ask me, or have asked me over the years, how do you know who you're channeling? And what they really want to know is, how do you know you're not channeling some bad being, some evil doer? I'm surrendered to being of service. That's what I'm using my personal power for. My vibration is such that only helpful beings can get through to me. Sometimes I encounter other beings, but I know they're not for me because I'm aligned with what's true for me. Channeling those beings wouldn't be a service. So I'm filtering out the things that don't work before I even start. The fifth chakra is this whole thing about what's true for you. Now, I will tell you that when you're getting to know it in this process of realignment and shedding, letting go of things that aren't true, you will find yourself about to say something, meaning the thought passes your mind or the imagery, you're about to say something, and it's kind of thing you've always thought and said, but it's not true. Like it doesn't feel right anymore. And so Larimar is extremely powerful for helping you figure out what you align with it isn't true. You might say something sometimes that you don't think is gossip, but later you say, oh, this kind of has a vibration I don't like. Kind of, why did I say that? This would stop you before you open your mouth. You feel it's wrong, not morally. It's just not true for you. It's not in your highest good. So you take your personal power, you surrender it to a higher truth. You align it with something bigger than you. So anyway, that's what the Larimar is for. These have been fantastic for radically transforming my relationship with money. I talked about second chakra and the red jasper with money, but my money issues, a lot as I mentioned, have been informed by my sense of being rejected by people over the years, various dynamics and relationships. So now the truth is, I'm not for everybody. So if somebody didn't want to connect with me or didn't want to get together with me, I have the choice not to let that affect my self-esteem. And so that's really helped me a tremendous amount for what is installed as truth in the fifth chakra. For some people, it could be a belief about the way the world should be or could be, but not, it's not how it really is. So you can get bent out of shape because the world isn't what you keep thinking it's supposed to be. Actual capital T truth, we have to surrender to that. So that's that for the fifth chakra. Now we get into something that's been one of my favorites over the years. This is a very popular crystal, and it's Labradorite. And here is a Labradorite egg. I'm going to turn it a little so you can get a sense of its shininess. There's a feldspar matrix. Feldspar is a very common mineral on the surface of the Earth. It's something like, I don't know, 30–40% of the surface of the Earth. Don't quote me, but it's quite a lot, high percentage of the percentage of the Earth. And you can see that a little bit over there. And then there is a layer of minerals at a particular plane in there. So when you have an egg, you have to turn it around quite a lot. I don't have any slabs up here. Wait, do I have any slabs up here? Well, I do have this, well, no, you can't see that in this light. Anyway, I have spheres and eggs, and I have some slabs on my website, similar to those hematite, where they're flat and kind of thick. Labradorite normally activates the sixth chakra. This is where your mind is, and also where your imagination and a great deal of your intuition is. So normally with Labradorite, you will find intuitive insights coming to you. That's normal. I have programmed these with a kind of grounding energy that connects your sixth chakra, where intuition lives, with your third chakra, that gut instinct. And this makes it extremely, like intuition, a very powerful tool because it's grounded to your body. Your sixth chakra isn't like floating around anywhere looking for something. It's not ungrounded. It's grounded and tethered, and you feel in your body, is this true? Is this right? So these Labradorites are actually kind of grounding, unlike most Labradorites. And I used to require them for my intuitive skills development students because this will help you, the way these are programmed, see the sources of patterns in your life. Why does this keep happening? Why do I keep making this choice or that choice? Why does everybody keep saying to me whatever it is? You intuitively get flashes of insight regarding these things. So there are lots of examples where this has saved me a tremendous amount of stress over the years. Because if everyone's telling you something all the time, sometimes you might say, well, sure, I mean, maybe I should do that. But sometimes you just don't know why. And it can be kind of, infuriating if you don't have answers. I'm a Scorpio, so I get stressed when I don't understand something too. I want to understand the deeper truth and the meaning behind things. And the Labradorite has helped with that a tremendous amount. Now, it might take a few seconds for you after asking your question. You say, you don't cycle your mind through forcing how to figure it out, but you say, okay, I would like to understand more about why this is happening. Why is this happening? And then you work with the Labradorite. Put it in a pocket, carry it around, put it in a bag, put it on your desk, touch it a few times a day. Let the vibration come into you and relax and let it go. It might be a few seconds or minutes, or it might be a couple of weeks before you get a real answer, but you'll get one. And it's magic. It's magical. The first one I gave to somebody else, it was at a workshop, and it was an astrology workshop, and we're talking during a break, and she said, and I had like 3 in my pocket, 3 that I just started making them. I'd gotten one little piece of Labradorite, I cut it up into 3 pieces, and I'd polished them, and I put energy into them, and I was testing them. And I'm sure my girlfriend had one, and I had one, and I had this extra one, and this woman at this conference said, yeah, I'm just trying to figure this thing out. And I said, oh, if you want to play a game, here, try this. And so I gave it to her, and we went back to the workshop, and an hour and a half later at the next break, or 2 hours later, whatever, she said, I got back to my seat, and I understood the thing why. And it was this magical, opening up of intuition. She had the flash of insight really quickly as soon as she encountered the stone. And but I've had the experience where it's quick like that, but also where I've said, I wonder why this is happening this way, why this pattern is the way it is, and I'll have it for days and weeks, sometimes even a couple weeks before I really feel a clear answer. So you can't control when you get the answer, but you can get an answer if you relax. And on that note, this will also balance left and right mind, then ground it. So left mind is the one that says, but why? But why? 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 Why don't I have an answer yet? Why? That's the left brain. The right brain is the one that's willing to wait. So you get them working together, ground them, and you'll come up with the answer when the time is right. So this is kind of a really great stone for establishing intuition as well as grounding the brain. So if you can't study, you feel like you can't learn things, this can be a great one for you, as well as, like I said, discerning why things happen the way they do. Okay. The next one is sea jasper. Here's that wand again. You see it's shaped like a massage wand. You can massage people. Here you can. And the orbs, and there's also druzy in this one. You can see in that little crack, there's like a little quartzy stuff in there. So this is from Madagascar. I haven't told you where everything's from, but this is from Madagascar. And I use this to promote surrender and letting go and going with the flow. It's a very Neptunian, Piscean, 7th chakra, 12th house kind of thing. We need to act in 3D. We need to be in our bodies. We need to attend to things in 3D. But we also have to adapt to a higher truth that things sometimes happen without our understanding or our input. So if we can surrender to what is, we can see that all that's coming to us in our lives serves a higher purpose, even if our personality doesn't like it or our mind doesn't understand it. Pain is part of life, and sometimes in order to grow, we have to go through painful scenarios. This can help us surrender to that. When I have anxiety and my mind is racing, that's the result when I have anxiety. It just won't stop. I typically use this. I'll hold one in each hand, and the vibration, when you hold one in each hand, the vibration gets through your body much more quickly. It makes a circuit between them, and it can be a stronger effect. And I often recommend using 2 of the same kind of stone for that reason. This helps me sleep and let go and relax. I become less attached to what my mind is doing, and I can drift off. So this, I've slept off and on with this for years in my hands, and these are of course a great shape. These little things, the little wands. I do have slabs on my site as well, and even a larger piece that is a this boulder. It's a freeform hand polished boulder. So actually, I'll show you another example too. This is a sphere that I use. That's my own personal sphere. I bought several spheres last year, and I sold a couple of them. But you can see the orbs within the orbs, which is kind of amazing, and also this kind of milky white jasper. Anyway, so to let go, to allow things to be what they are, means you're not struggling anymore. If you study karmic astrology with me, I'll tell you all the time, 12th house signatures, Neptunian, Piscean, 12th house karmic signatures, there are 2 kinds of people with those signatures. Some of them willingly surrender maybe a little too much because they've had to learn to go with the flow to survive. Other people will fight and try to control and fight the current because they felt they've lost too much through such surrender, through such going with the flow. So to find a healthy ground of action, but not over controlling, you know, be active, do what you need to do. And I don't use these 24/7. I use them when I get stressed and when I can't allow things to be what they are. And then I put it away, and then I go use other things. I live my life, and I come back to it when I need to kind of dial it back and slow down and bring the tone down. So that's what the Sea Jasper is for. Some people will have a stimulation of creativity or dream information from dreams. Some people will have a compassionate response. The energy in these is very similar to that in the pink opal of the violet flame of forgiveness. It's very similar. In order to get this frequency right, I'm basically almost bringing in Saint Germain's energy. This will not directly open the heart, but it is about a kind of a compassion, viewing the world through a compassionate lens, approaching things, responding to things with a Neptunian compassionate spirit. Okay, so that is the Sea Jasper. Other people will call it orbicular jasper or ocean jasper. I just call it Sea Jasper. Okay, next is one of my favorites, Auralite 23. This is a polished piece. It's been tumbled, so it's kind of shiny and the rough edges are taken off. Other examples, here's another example, which it's a wand that's rough, that's not polished. Mostly amethyst, as you can see, but if you look really closely, I think this is a good example, you will see discolorations, which are metallic inclusions. You can see the little thing by over here, the seam. So mostly amethyst, but it has a number of metals in it. It's called Auralite 23 because it was thought there were 23 metals in it. But it's, and then people were saying it's at least 17. In any given piece, there are at least 17 of this set of 23 metals, up to 23. But I was even talking to my friend I buy these from, a vendor who sells these, and he was saying, who was part of the original effort to brand and market Auralite 23 in the first place 10, 15 years ago. And he was saying there are even more. There are even more elements and minerals in it. So, but anyway, it does have some metals in it, and the effect has changed quite a lot. And this is a 7th chakra stone, the spiritual connector. When, like what I often say I use Auralite for, is to disconnect from the negative internal mind, or the internal negative voice of resistance and doubt and unhappiness. The way I experience this is it connects me to my higher self, a higher version of myself. I hear the dissatisfied, pained, grieving, angry, upset, you know, malcontent parts of me. I don't believe they're who I am. I don't identify as them. So part of me might be critical, and I know it's not me. I can let it go because I'm connected with my higher self. That's incredibly important as a phase of evolution from believing you are what your mind says to moving into more spiritual awareness and conception of who you are, because you're not what's happened to you. You're therefore not the criticisms your mind has in order to try to protect you or keep others out so they don't hurt you, or situations, you know, or try to keep you from making a mistake and judging things, and you know. So the Auralite 23 is really great. I've used these a lot over the last few years for a number of different purposes, and you can find videos and MP3s, videos here and MP3s on SoundCloud where I talk about their audio diaries. I talk about my experiences. But there's connecting to a higher level of truth and disconnecting from your mind, the voice of judgment, the negativity. It's really important. It helped me get back to dreaming like a person again after, I don't know, I want to say 6 or 7 or 8 years of being like having this dread while I was sleeping, stuff from my unconscious coming up, and me just feeling that everything was going to go wrong, so I'd wake up upset. And this helped me get back to dreaming like a normal person again. It's a really big deal for me because it affected my sleep for years, and I didn't know how to deal with it. So this has been really great, and I've held these. They're upstairs, but I have these 2 huge pieces. One is just about a pound, just really big, and the other one is probably like 10 or 12 ounces, which is actually pretty big. And yeah, these are fantastic. And I have said over time that you can put these in water and drink the water. If you have concerns about metals from the Auralite leaching into water, then you just do it for a second. There's nothing that's going to leach if you just plop that crystal in and pull it out again. The energy coming off this crystal that I put into it will affect the water pretty much immediately. You don't have to soak it overnight. You don't have to soak it for weeks. You don't have to do it in moonlight or sunlight or whatever. Just plop it in, pour the water out, drink the water. That's kind of, and you can use it over and over again. It will indefinitely give off this energy. And I've used that water to keep me positive. Again, disconnecting, relaxing from that negative critical voice. And I often at expos, I'll have a big container of it and give out samples to people. And you can watch their lives change as they take a sip because they realize that voice isn't theirs. It's been really, really potent. So these are really good to use with that. If you get one of the two tumbled ones, I wouldn't do that, just because the final phase in tumbling has us using aluminum oxide as a polish. So I don't know if in the little divots here there might be remains of that chemical. I don't know. So don't do it if you have a polished one. Anyway, so that is something that you can do with the Auralite 23. The seventh chakra is our spiritual connector. But we don't have to do anything to activate it and open it. We have to actually deal with everything from the sixth chakra down that prevents us from feeling safe in our bodies and in the world and allowing ourselves to be connected already. So even in the chakra course, which is a 7-part course, some of which is channeled from Jehudi, but like the first 3 files on the first 3 chakras are me telling you how Jehudi teaches about the chakras, kind of everything. And then chakras 4 through 7 are actually channeled. And all the ones from 1 through 6 are, an hour long, hour and 10 minutes, hour and 15 minutes. The last one is a half an hour long because he says, if you do the work in chakras 1 through 6, you're just there. So the Auralite 23 can really help us feel connected. Okay, now the last two I have to explain to you affect all of your chakras, your whole body, your whole energy field. The first one is Dendritic Opal, and the ones I have are from Turkey. Sometimes they show up as black like this, a lot of black with white, and sometimes they're white with these kind of black tendrils that go into the white. And the point of these is integration. The idea is that black stuff going into the white is one part of you coming into the other part of you, coming to meld together. And these have been used for integration for a very long time. How I talk about integration, you might have, if you're on a certain kind of track in the kind of world I live in, a certain kind of path, you might find yourself dealing with other life emotions, feelings that don't belong to you. Whether you consciously connect them to other life memories or not, in your unconscious are the records of all of your lives. And so you might have stuff that you need to, you need to process and integrate. And this can help that. This supports that. Helps smooth the way for part of you to feel welcome. The other thing is the idea of integration, an aspect of yourself that you don't know what to do with. Like for me, I do this work all the time, and I love it. To be able to reach people, to help people open their hearts and make peace with the past and connect with their soul's journeys, to clear energy from people, to like get crystals in their hands and for them to become more empowered and more, willing to enjoy being on earth and like themselves. That makes me so happy. Well, then the creative writer in me sometimes doesn't get attention. I use this to remember other parts of me that don't fit with this work. So even just aspects of yourself. And you might even find, like I talked about with the red jasper, saying yes and no. I talked about with the pink opal, forgiveness. If a part of you can do those things, but you don't know how to welcome that on a daily basis and integrate it healthily, the dendritic opal is a great way to go. In general, it smooths things over. It smooths things over, so it affects all 7 chakras. It can feel very relaxing, and I have held these in my hands as well when I just need to relax and let myself be who I am. Like if I'm stressed about something during the day because I feel I don't have this choice, but I want to have that choice, or I need to do this, but I don't think that's a tenable choice. That kind of thing. I'll use this to relax. And it's a little different than the sea jasper, the letting go thing. It's more like all parts of me are welcome. Everything's fine. Tomorrow's a new day. Let me just get some sleep. I'll approach the thing again tomorrow from a different perspective. So the dendritic opal is really great for that. Very soothing. That's a great word for it. And the last one I have for you to tell you about and share with you is I'm just conscious of how I've never done all this at one time before. So I'm kind of like, oh my God, I'm still talking. But is Moldavite. And Moldavite is a tektite, which means it is glass that is formed. Let me try to find the angle here so you can get some of the, I guess you can get some of the light through there. Glass that's formed from the impact of a meteorite believed to be about 14.8 million years ago, striking the Earth in an area that is now southeastern Germany, and then everything, this molten fireball after the impact exploding over into an adjacent area, which is now the Czech Republic. So these are mined in the Czech Republic and some few pieces in southeastern Germany. So it's a tektite, it's a glass, and it affects all the chakras. It does not have any piece of the meteorite in it. Some people seem to believe it or to kind of explain it in a sloppy way that seems to imply that it is. It doesn't, but it has an otherworldly vibration, definitely. A lot of people, when they first encounter Moldavite, will have physical symptoms, a heat rush, a flood. They call it the Moldavite flush. They might feel heat, like a rash of heat through their bodies that might open their hearts or not. They might cry. I typically, when I first encountered it, new sets of it or larger amounts of it, I'll get a headache because my consciousness is adjusting. My experience of what it does is that it changes the shape of your energy field, which affects your consciousness. And then your body must adapt. Your body cannot help but reflect what's going on in your energy field. And so that's the source of health and wellness. If what's going on in your energy field is health, your body will manifest health. If you're storing old emotions and crap, then your body will manifest that. So the Moldavite changes the shape of your consciousness and your energy field. My experience is that when I use this, there isn't room for the malcontents. I talked about with Auralite 23, if you remember this one, I said, this helps me disconnect from those parts. This is a great interim phase from, believing what your mind says to Moldavite. To be detached from it is important, and then to get to the place where there's less room for it or no room for it with the Moldavite. And when I put it down, that part of me is apparent again, but my relationship with it, with repeated use of the Moldavite, can change over time, and that's very important. So you can't banish parts of you. You can't get rid of the negative voices. The part who says, I've been wronged, or I'm unhappy, or I don't deserve anything. You can't get rid of them, and you shouldn't try. You shouldn't hate them. You should bring compassion to them. But as we are too close to them sometimes, we don't have perspective. The Moldavite can help us not just kind of like, I remember when I was in college, a lot of people have this experience sometimes when they're younger. In order to get their heads on straight, to live the life they want to live, they might have to cut off their family for a while. And I had this time when I just couldn't deal with talking to my mom, and it was the better part of a year. It might have been 10 or 11 months or something. And life changes, whatever, things happen, but like I needed that time, and I knew I knew she met someone and got married, and like I missed that kind of thing because I needed to have that separation time. Well, think about some part of you. Think of it as akin to somebody in your family you just need some space from, and you just don't know who you are because you can't get that influence out of your head. Well, think of that as akin to what Moldavite does with the parts of you that are difficult to deal with. Unhappy, traumatized parts. You have to deal with them. You cannot get rid of them, but you can take some time off. And so when I use Moldavite, I feel good. I feel connected to the divine within me. Ultimately, I do feel my heart opened. I feel connected to truth. I'm using it to channel all the time now. And then periodically, about once a week now, I'm intentionally leaving it at home and going out and doing things. The parts of me come back. For me, it's a critical voice that poo-poos everything, that is critical of all the drivers and the people and their choices and what, you know, little prejudices and all the stuff that isn't what I want to feed and isn't what I choose to be true for me. So using the Moldavite, I'm distanced from it. When it comes back, those parts of me reassert themselves. I can say, yeah, okay, yeah, that's part of me. But I don't have to believe that it's who I am. So I sometimes with Moldavite, you might feel, here's the other one that I use quite a lot. This was my original larger piece, and then I just got a set of over 250 grams in about 2 weeks ago, and I snagged this one for myself out of that. So I have some really beautiful big pieces on my site, as well as some medium-sized small ones. But when I'm holding it, it feels like medicine. It feels like the thing I need. And it's almost like a little security blanket right now in this phase, because it's nobody, like I said in this MP3 last night, Moldavite Diaries, nobody wants to be negative, but we don't know what else to do or how else to do it. So Moldavite is an incredibly important tool. So it's very high vibrating, and it might give you a headache as things shift. It might make you nauseous because things are like, what the hell is going on? It will confront parts of you that carry negativity, so, you know, not to banish them, but so you can change your relationship with them. I've been promoting Moldavite a lot lately. It's kind of like, oh, Moldavite can do no wrong. It's the best thing ever. but it kind of is. But as far as this process I've outlined for you, from root chakra up to seventh chakra, grounding is the most important thing. And I didn't just jump into Auralite 23 and Moldavite. I got grounded first for years, and I worked through my stuff about religion and God and community being safe in my body. All the stuff Ascended Master Jehudi, when I was working with Tiger Iron, said you have to focus on this, and I was like, I don't want to do it. You know, just repeatedly focusing on it. So the groundedness, the bottom of the energy field, is incredibly critical to get solid and open and working and addressed, you know, healing being addressed. Resolving those old issues. Don't assume that we have been taught this, and don't do this. Don't assume spirituality isn't always going up and never going down, because if you do that, then you start to long for connection with the great beyond, and you start to resent your body, and it starts manifesting crap. Like, get in your body, deal with your emotions, be here on the ground, be grounded, connected to the earth. You know, I'm always aware of what it feels like in my feet. And that's a result of becoming grounded over years and having it become second nature. So if you're listening to some of these stories about the upper chakra stones in the latter part of the video and saying, oh, that sounds great, get grounded first. Deal with those things first. So thank you for your time and attention, and I certainly hope this is helpful. If you have any questions about the stones that I offer, feel free to email me. If you email me and say, what's the difference between this and that you don't offer, I won't know, because I learn through living with the stones, through channeling, through doing energy work, through sleeping while holding them. I learn through experience. And like somebody recently asked me on a comment on a video, I think it was the Onyx video on YouTube, can you explain the difference between black tourmaline, onyx, and shungite? Well, I've used shungite for a few months, but I don't really connect with it. I bought 3 pieces just to play with it, to do research. And black tourmaline I've never encountered. I haven't used it. So I can't compare them. But I'm happy to answer any questions about these crystals I've talked about today as tools to help you get in your body and heal and release things. You can be in touch via tom@tdjacobs.com. That's a better way to reach me than a comment on a video here that I may not see right away. If you're not in a rush, leave a comment. I'll get to it eventually. Could be a few weeks later. But anyway, again, thanks for your energy and time, and I hope I can be of help to you. Be in touch if I can. Bye-bye.